With the rise of HDTV and the plethora of DIYers across the internet and social media, it's easy to see how the perception of interior design is one of picking out pillows and paint colors. And yes, it is true that a love for interior design can extend to anyone, even your resident DIYer. But there is a huge difference between a decorator and a professional interior designer. In this video, I'm going to explain what that difference is. Hello there, my name is KLSY and I am the founder and creative director of KLSY, a full-service interior design firm specializing in commercial spaces for small and boutique-style businesses. Today we're going to discuss the biggest pet peeve of probably every interior designer ever to live, and that is, what makes us different than decorators? If you're new to our channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button for more interior design related content, follow us on Instagram, and check out our website at www.klsy.design. There you can sign up for our newsletter and receive access to more industry insights, educational content, project updates, and even get some of your questions answered. So let's get into it. The interior design organization IIDA defines interior design as the professional and comprehensive practice of creating an environment that addresses, protects, and responds to human needs. It is the art, the science, and the business planning of a creative, technical, sustainable, and functional interior solution that corresponds to the architecture of the space. Right away from that definition, you can probably get the sense that there's a lot more that goes into interior design than simply aesthetics. The first thing that separates professional interior designers and decorators is education. Designers are formally educated and have, at minimum, a bachelor's degree in interior design. There are many different programs that can constitute as an interior design degree, and depending on the school, you can have a slightly different educational experience. Some schools focus more heavily on the design portion of interior design, such as honing your conceptual art skills, and you might receive a BFA, a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Interior Design. And other schools may focus on the technical skills, such as learning the drafting and modeling technology, codes and detailed drawings, etc. And instead you might earn a BS, a Bachelor of Science in Interior Design. Both of these are acceptable forms of education, and it really depends on the individual trajectory of the career the designer wants to go in. There are also master's programs for interior design, so some people that are exploring a career change or they have a bachelor's in something different will do a master's program to receive their formal education. Decorators, on the other hand, have no formal education in interior design. In addition to education, professional credentials are also a very important part of being a well-rounded and educated interior designer. The NCIDQ exam is the leading form of qualification for interior designers, and it consists of 3 separate exams totaling about 12 hours in test time. It tests a designer's technical, planning, and design-related knowledge, and with this qualification, a designer receives more credibility in their field because they've proven to have this core knowledge and skill set. Some other credentials include LEED and WELL. These two focus heavily on sustainability and human wellness, which in recent years has become even more important and sought after when hiring designers. Some examples include material sustainability, knowledge of sustainable architecture and systems, and what design solutions can help impact climate change and human health. These credentials are not required to be an interior designer, but most designers usually take advantage of them to both increase their credibility or to gain more education post-college. Decorators typically do not have these qualifications, and some of these, such as the NCIDQ exams, cannot even be taken by a person that has not had a formal design education and at least a few years experience in the field. Let's talk about technical skills now. A decorator's skills typically end with the basic art and design knowledge, such as color theory, concept of balance and scale, knowledge about certain materials like fabric and stone, and so on. They may also be able to read a basic plan, but definitely not to the extent that a professional designer can. Designers are trained in architectural documentation and are able to fully read and understand, as well as draft, a full construction set, such as lighting plans, details, elevations, ceiling plans. The list goes on. This is important because the primary job of an interior designer is to act as the liaison between the client and all other parties. So the designer must be able to understand the documentation being drafted across all of the fields in order to review them on the client's behalf. For example, a mechanical engineer will draft their own plans to show where all of the mechanical and electrical equipment will be placed. Although an interior designer is not an expert on mechanical systems by any means, don't ask me to locate a supply channel duct sprinkler head. They would be able to thoroughly read these plans and give feedback to the engineer or recommend changes if anything happens to interfere with the design intent. Other technical skills a designer has are the use of certain design and drafting programs. These can include AutoCAD, Revit, VRite, Enscape. These more technical programs allow designers and architects to create documentation for projects of all sizes and even create photorealistic renderings. This all feeds directly into our next point, which I'm calling versatility. In addition to being able to read and draft technical plans across a construction document set, designers must also be aware about the basics of several other associated trades, such as millwork construction, furniture, lighting, acoustics. Like I mentioned, designers do not need to be experts in all of these fields. That would be way too much for me to learn. But they do need to have a basic knowledge in everything in order to make educated design decisions. For example, if a client is concerned about the acoustics of a space, they may work with an acoustic specialist. The designer wouldn't need to know the full details of acoustic science to the extent that the specialist would, but they would have to have a knowledge in the basic acoustic properties of the materials that they're specifying. This will help them design the space fit for the client's needs, as well as more easily work with the acoustic specialist to collaborate on the best design solution. Because decorators only really deal with the aesthetics portion of a project, there's little skill, versatility, and knowledge across trades. One huge difference between designers and decorators is design psychology. Design psychology is the science of human design and human psychology as it relates to design. This is especially important in the space planning of a project because it allows us to both design for and influence human behavior. Take a retail store, for example. Retail designers use human behavior patterns to determine what kinds of fixtures and products to place in the store. They can strategically design the store so that customers subconsciously walk past particular items, or they can create a customer flow through the space, which ultimately can help influence what they purchase. You didn't know this until now, but if you've ever been in a store and were shopping, you didn't really make that decision. The designer in the store made that decision for you because they gently pushed you towards the most expensive item. This is typically a concept taught in design school, so decorators with no formal education wouldn't be as skilled in it. Although building code is often verified by architects, it is extremely important that designers know, at minimum, the basic important codes. The most important, in my opinion, being building occupancy, fire codes and emergency exiting, and ADA. There is so much to say about codes that I couldn't possibly even scratch the surface, but I could potentially get into more depth in them in a future video. So if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, then let me know down in the comments. For now, I want to quickly talk about ADA, which stands for the Americans with Disabilities Act. ADA is extremely important when designing a space because there are several requirements needed in order to accommodate those with disabilities. Some can include the clearances required, fixtures in a bathroom, and the extent to which items can protrude from the wall, the need for adequate turning radiuses for wheelchairs. These are all tested in the NCIDQ exam, as I mentioned earlier, which of course decorators cannot take and are therefore unable to prove their knowledge of code. Finally, one great thing about working with a designer is that you receive access to commercial grade and high-end products. With most manufacturers, you are only able to purchase certain products like furniture through a professional designer. To do this, you need to prove your credentials as a designer. This can definitely be achieved by decorators that have a personal interior design business for some time and they have a record of previous work with clients and a good reputation. However, it's more so achievable in the residential world in that way. Commercial manufacturers really do want to see that you're a qualified professional before allowing you to set up accounts with them and specify their products. This keeps their products at a higher standard while protecting designers professionally. As you can see, there are so many things that separate a professional interior designer from a decorator. And there's probably a million other reasons that I simply could not cover because this video would be way too long. But I'm excited to dig into several of these topics deeper in future videos. I want to clarify that there is nothing wrong with being or hiring a decorator as long as they are the right fit for that particular project and their job is solely aesthetics focused. But if the project is either more complicated or goes beyond aesthetics and requires someone that is technically trained, a professional interior designer is always the way to go. That's all I have for you today. To be notified when we upload another video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and click the bell down below. If this video has convinced you that you do in fact need to hire an interior designer and you're interested in working with us, head over to our website at klsy.design and click the contact tab to submit your request for a consultation call. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to Kimball International for hosting me in their showroom. I'm drinking some wine, I'm having a good time, I'm feeling fine, and that's all the time that I have for you today. Okay, signing off.